Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. I'm your host, Stephen Topham at the third at your service. We're going to talk about, seriously now, talk about one of my support engines that is privatised to a degree, but the name Frank should give you a clue. Obviously, Frank is very powerful surname in history and name, my ad, and it's very important. Now, a lot of you may think, what's Frank got to do with Thomas and Friends? Look it up. It's really that simple. Right? Frank is not just a friend of a family, he's also private connection. Now, let me ask you something in layman terms, in broad daylight. When you wake up, smell the coffee, have a cup of tea, coffee, and listening to this podcast, you're understanding everything that's unfolding. But this is what has unfolded, which makes this connection perfect, right? A lot of you who have been brought up by Power Rangers and everything else, I have connections in the Power Rangers team. Let's say the Mighty Morphin, all the way to Dino Thunder, and even the specials for other seasons as well, right up to its last season, which they've done, right? A lot of people don't like reboots of the Power Rangers, don't get me wrong, but we're going to talk about this as a two-sided story because it's based on facts, it's truth, it's logic, and it's respect. I'm going to take you back into World War II. Now, a lot of you know who I'm about to bring up as my first connection, right? In World War II, there was a Jewish family that did not do nothing wrong at all throughout their lives, right? Also, Frank, as you know who I'm going to about to be talking about, the book that inspired me to realise there's more than it meets the eye, right? The Diary of Anne Frank, right? Her sister, her older sister, Margaret, or Margaret Frank, all connected, right? And then a lot of people ask, we know her story from beginning to end, right? But Frank has been supported through their lives for me, right? Through the franchise, through me, through the family, friends, connections everywhere. We know everyone that is blood connected to the Franks, right? Margaret Kidner died first, and Frank died last. Now, reverse that a little bit, and I'm going to be honest with you, and I'm going to be putting this on the silver platter. Who has read The Diary of Anne Frank? Read it forward, then reverse it, read it between the lines, and you get the result and the answer and the truth of everything that's unfolded. So, realistically, what has. Right, let me put this in perspective for you, right? We know this is true. This is reality of what's unfolded for the Steam team and the Diesel team, vice versa, playing, doing the jobs that we were set out to do and correct it all, right? The thing is, the Frank family are a private connection. They're not just a family friend to the Hatts. They are everything. That's set in stone. So, the Diary of Anne Frank in reverse is something more particular to connect to the Power Rangers. Now, a lot of you might think, what the hell is he talking about? Well, Anne Frank died last. Her sister was died first, right? Their mother, died as well on top. But the other thing that also triggers everybody else's mind is saying, why is the Power Rangers involved in Anne Frank's story? Because if you read it in reverse and read between the lines, you get the bottom line that it's all to do with one individual, that the well-respected Power Ranger, legendary Power Ranger of all time, right? Everybody knows now what has unfolded. It's reversed. So what happened to the Frank family when they got hit the first time in World War II? Oh, here comes Power Rangers, well-beloved, treasured, best program in history. Five teenagers with attitude got teleported by Sodor and another private connection, David Fielding. Now, a lot of you know him as Sodor, the best actor in the world and the best voice actor in the history of books of Power Rangers. Yes, we understand that. Then, Jason David Frank. Yes, Jason David Frank came into the franchise in season 1 in Green with Eagle. Now, a lot of you might say, what? What's he got to do with Aaron Frank? Reversed it. What has happened? Right? He was in Power Rangers a lot longer than anyone else on the planet, but I had a connection on the inside of Power Rangers, Amy Jo Johnson, who plays Kimberly Hart. Now, work it out. It makes sense. The Hatt's got connection on that end too. Why? I'm now going to get it in black and white for you to understand. It's there in black and white. So you got Anne Frank and her sister passed away in World War II, and then basically added up with one thing in protocol. I said there was more to it. Mitzi, hold up. When the whole franchise was being played in front of you, why, in Power Rangers Zero, you basically had what you call, apologise for the delay there, but I had to answer the door. But what happened was, Jason David Frank, his brother, died after he was shown in Power Rangers Zero. It's David Truman, which is Tommy's brother, right? We know they're biologically related. We know they're blood related. And we know that Anne Frank and her sister had the same problem in World War II. So it repeated the pattern. Ding, ding. Didn't see that unfold quite quickly, did you? So the answer was all there in black and white, and the connection was there. So why is Frank in the actual Thomas franchise? Because of that connection. The connection with the Hat, connection with friends, families, colleagues, all of it. The families are well known, right? So basically, you saw history repeat itself, but rest in peace for Jason David Frank, who plays Dr. Tommy Oliver, right? If the Power Rangers continued and stopped doing the reboot, everything would have fallen into place the next generation, right? People will watch the big classic, the season 1, all the way up to the last season they just done, and then everybody's talking about what? Jason David Frank is one of your private connections? Yes. So is Amy Jo Johnson a private connection of mine? Yes. Why? Because long time ago, there's a connection that bonds us all together. So you got Frank, you got you got you got Margot Frank, and you got Anne Frank, right? Both blood related to the Frank family. Why? Because the connection is in reverse. So what happens? Then Jason, as his brother came into the picture, and then bang, nearly the same events happen again. You don't see it until it unfolds in your eyes, and you realise There was a bigger picture involved. So, realistically, Frank is basically a friend and a private connection, right? His friends are basically Amy Jo Johnson and the rest of the Power Rangers from the from 1993 onwards. So thank you very much. I hope you got that as an insider, obviously. So I got connections everywhere, so I know exactly who I'm talking about, who I'm who I am basically connected with from distant eyes. We all have our we always have our heroes, fans, connections, etc., etc. Right, it's good to be famous to a point, but then there's a barrier that you have to have your private life privatized. So then, at the end of the day, giving you a heads up about Frank, the support engine, is one of my own support engines from America. Thank you very much, as well as Germany, obviously.